So I thought I would take this opportunity to make a video just in case anybody wanted to see what it's like to do latex repair. This is the latex vac bed that got a little hole torn in it, and I actually already started to do the repair, and then I decided, you know what, maybe I should make a little video on it. So what I've done so far is it's inside out right now, and on the outside, what I did was I took some painter's tape, and the Scotch brand blue painter's tape works the best. Some of the other brands stick like mad and leave residue, but this Scotch brand works really well. So I put that on there, and the purpose of that is to kind of hold things in place. So for example, let me get back to where, I don't know how well it's going to show on camera, but there's a little flap, there's a tear with but it didn't come completely detached. It's got a flap. It's right here. And so once I put the tape on there, you can hardly see it because it's basically kind of pulled everything back together. So the tape is holding it in place. Over here, this spot actually got torn off, but I had some material, not a lot of it, but I had a little bit left over, and I was able to basically take some plastic and lay it on there and trace with a Sharpie the shape of the tear, and then I cut that plastic out, laid it on the latex, used gel pens. They work really good for outlining on the latex, and then I cut that piece out and stuck it in there. That's going to kind of fill that in. Then I want to take and put a patch. I didn't have the blue material, but it's going to be on the inside, so it doesn't really matter that much. I basically did the plastic trick again. I laid that over the area, and then I used a Sharpie to kind of say, hey, this is the shape I want. And then I cut that out, and then I came back with a gel pen and then traced around it. Now, the reason why I did that one is for two purposes. I need to put glue in that area, but I also need to take and I need to sand this because it has this really slippery chlorination treatment. You can't glue to the slippery chlorination, so you have to actually rough it up first. And you can use sandpaper, or I have this like file. It's actually meant for like woodworking. And what I'm going to do is carefully just kind of abrade this, rough it up. And what I'm doing is taking that surface treatment off. It's just a very thin layer that's on the surface that makes it slippery from the chlorination. And when you do this, you're kind of busting up that surface layer, and it gives the glue something to stick to. Now, I want to be careful. I don't want to go too hard because like this piece that I've got stuck in there, it's just sticking to the tape. If I go too hard, it might rip it off. And same thing with this little flap that's over here. It's just being held down with the tape, so I don't want to go too crazy with it. So you don't have to do this step if it's not chlorinated. If it's just regular latex and it doesn't have the chlorination treatment, you can skip this step and go to the next step, which is going to be to clean it. You can use alcohol, or I actually use heptene, which is the solvent that you use with rubber cement. It's actually like the solvent that's in rubber cement. You can buy it by itself, and it works really good for doing glue cleanup, or if you need to thin the glue, if it starts to get too thick, you can add a heptene to it. This stuff's available on Amazon. The rubber cement you can buy locally at like Walmart or Lowe's. Elmer's brand that makes like Elmer's glue, they make a pretty decent rubber cement. I use a brand called Best Test paper cement. So paper cement is another name for it because it's used a lot with crafts for gluing paper together. and so they call it paper cement. It's the same stuff though, same as rubber cement. So sorry this is taking so long. This part just you got to make sure that everything's roughed up nicely. All right, this is looking pretty good. We want to make sure this is nice and roughed up because this is going to control how well our patch is going to stay on there. We want it to stay on there really well so that people can have a really kinky time in the latex vac bed and not lose suction because the patch decided to give out. So we want to make sure this does its job so that the vac bed can suck nicely. All right, I think I'm done. Just kind of have to look at it in different light because it's basically making the surface matte wherever I do it. And I do a couple more. There we go. Next, I'm going to take Heptene, which is the solvent. I got it on a Q-tip, and I'm going to clean all of this. The painter's tape underneath also helps to keep it from curling, because otherwise, when you add either the Heptene or the glue, it'll make the material want to curl, and having that tape on there will prevent it from doing that. So actually, my next step is if I can find my patch that I cut just a minute ago. I think I must have laid it. There we go. I see it. I laid it down. So this is the patch. I need to do the same thing to it with the tape because, so I want to put this down. Let's see if I can figure out. It's going to go like that. So I want to put some tape on it to keep it from curling. Roll that a little bit. All right, and then same thing. I want to take and clean this with the Heptene. All right, and then I'm gonna take some scissors and I want to kind of cut this. Not it doesn't have to be like flush, but it needs to be pretty close because when you stick this down, the tape is going to be facing towards you, and you want to be able to judge the shape of this patch so that you can align it. And if the tape is sticking out, then it's going to prevent you from really seeing the shape. So there we go. I still have like a tiny little lip that I can grab with my fingernail to rip it off. But all right. Next, I have rubber cement and a paintbrush, and I'm going to paint the area. Evenly with the rubber cement. You can actually kind of paint outside just a little bit. You don't want to go crazy because you want to see based on where the glue is where the patch needs to align with. Because I did have gel pen on there earlier, but it's kind of been wiped off when I did the cleaning with the Heptene. So now I'm kind of using where the glue is to judge where the patch needs to go. And we're going to apply glue to both sides because it works like a contact cement. You put the glue on both sides, you let it kind of dry a little bit, and then you stick it together. And you got to make sure that it's where you want it to be, because once it's down, if you have to peel it back up, you really need to apply glue again. So you kind of want to get it right. You can pull it back up, of course, especially if you use some Heptene that we use to clean with. That helps get rid of glue, and it also releases the glue if you need to. If you screw up, you can kind of put some Heptene either on tweezers or on a Q-tip, and then use it to kind of release the glue and then try again. So it's nice because it's fairly forgiving. So I've got glue on both sides. I'm going to let it set for just a second, and then I'm going to go ahead and put it down. One thing I could do is I could take some, in fact, I might as well do it just to kind of show the technique. Take some saran wrap and, in fact, I could probably just take this and stick it like this. So this is going to protect it, especially this is very useful if you have a big piece that you need to do. So you could like do both halves, and then what you can do is not worry about it like touching and, you know, sticking to something. So you figure out where it's going to start from. You're going to start kind of on one side, so you can kind of like peel that back. Then you can peel this back, and you can kind of say, oh, okay, yeah, let's see, I want it to be, and kind of align the rest of it without it actually touching, and then you can start there or on that exposed side, and then you can start peeling this back, or you could, I mean, this is small enough, we could just kind of get it all off. But at least it gets you like the ability to sort of get everything aligned. And then I have a glass jar that I'm kind of working against that gives me a hard surface, which is really nice because then I can use this little metal leatherworking roller. You can use a shot glass or piece of PVC pipe or something to roll with. That helps to really get a good bond and get the air out, any air bubbles. So I'm going to take this tape back off, and we use some natural latex to do the patch, which is really kind of cool because you can really see like what's not glued. And I can see over here on this edge, I didn't really get it glued down. I'm going to take some tweezers and I'm going to put some Heptene up under here. And I might even take, and I think maybe I went out of bounds a little bit, I'm going to file just a little bit down here. Just to make sure that it's not going to, you don't really want a patch to not be glued all the way to the edge, because it will slowly peel up from like sweat. Sweat is very acidic, and it'll actually break down the glue over time. And if it can get up under, then it's gonna start to peel up over time. So with these patches, you really want to make sure that it's glued really well all the way to the edges. All right, let's try this again. Let's take, I can probably do it with my brush. Sometimes if I really need to get into some small like nooks and crannies, I might use like a really small screwdriver meant for like working on glasses, or like a pin, like a safety pin, or something like that. Just real small and pokey to kind of get up into those areas. Always cover the glue because it dries out pretty fast. I use these nice little mason jars. You don't really want to stick it down just yet, because if you do, it just peels right back up. You kind of want to let it air out a little bit before you put pressure on it. I'm going to roll these other areas while we're waiting. All right, I think that's probably pretty good. Getting there. This is still wanting to kind of peel up over here. So now that is down, I'm going to take and use some Heptene to kind of clean up. Get a new Q-tip, because if you don't, you're just sort of spreading glue around. So I'll use it for just a little bit, and then I'll grab another Q-tip and use the other side of it. Now, some parts might try to like release a little bit, and don't panic if they do. Just put some pressure on them, and they should stick back down. If they don't, then we might need to add a little bit of glue. But usually they just kind of release with the Heptene, but they that part doesn't seem to want to stay. So let's maybe just a tiny bit of glue. So since this area was chlorinated, I'll need to do another chlorination treatment to make this as slippery. Or if you don't really want to fool with that, you can always just kind of maybe put a little bit of silicone or some dust on this to keep it, because it's grippy, whereas this stuff over around it is fairly slippery. So the next thing that I want to do is get to the outside and carefully peel off the painter's tape. You want to go slow, because you don't want to like peel loose anything that you just glued. Yay, there we go. So we got a repair, and it takes good hour to get to about 90% bond strength, and then about 24 hours to get to 100%. So you might even take it and roll it a little bit more to get more pressure while it's still kind of setting up. And we're done. Repaired vac bed. So that's on the inside. And then on the outside, there's our repair. You can really only see it mostly just from like how the patch on the back kind of distorts the material just a little bit from being there. So when you do have a suit or something that you're wearing, if you do tear, like, it's never going to be perfect, but you can at least make it wearable again. And honestly, like, it depends where it is. Sometimes you can do a repair really without being able to notice it.